Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another of these variants of the Jurassic Justin / Caldera Collectibles Super Articulated 1/18 scale Allosaurus figures, and this time we've got one that I can feel is definitely going to be a fan favorite. This is the Big Al variant. Again, obviously based color-wise on the Walking with Dinosaurs version of the Allosaurus. Now you notice that this one has more of a greenish coloration, whereas I personally have always viewed the Big Al Allosaurus as being more of a grayish color, though there are definitely instances during that documentary where, depending on the light and the way that, it looks, sometimes it does appear a little bit greenish, which is interesting, and I don't know if maybe it's just the way that the light reflects off of the skin, making it look more green in certain angles, more gray in other angles, but Jurassic Justin has chosen to go with the more greenish look for his Big Al variant, and I will say it is absolutely as striking and gorgeous as it gets when it comes to a color scheme for an Allosaurus. Like, it looks absolutely beautiful here when it comes to, of course, the sculpt, because we've already taken a look at that, but the different coloration that we have on this one compared to the previous Allosaurus. And this is obviously a far different color scheme compared to some of the others that we've had. This is the first time so far with these reviews, and actually I think the only time in the entire lineup where the coloration is of an iconic Allosaurus that actually isn't part of the Jurassic franchise. So, as always, let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So again, just like with the others, the sculpt is absolutely the same on this one. It's obviously the Jurassic World style version of an Allosaurus, the sculpt that we have going on. But the difference here would definitely be the coloration, especially when it comes to the tones of color used, because for the most part, so far, we've only had bluish Allosaurus. This time we've got ourselves a very, very vibrant color here with a few different, actually, variations of greens. So you can see that we've basically got a really nice light green, and then he's dry brushed a darker green over top of the light green, and you can see it highlights those scales perfectly. As you move down here underneath the eye and running along the jawline, you can see like a light yellowish brown that's been dry brushed with an even lighter tone over again to really highlight that detail as well. We do darken the green as we move into the eye socket, and if you get nice and close to the eye, look at how good that eye looks. It is absolutely magic. The coloration that he has applied with these resin eyes is so nice, so realistic. We can also see that there's a nice eye shine to it as well, again, which is a huge plus, giving it a very realistic look as far as that kind of wet look that your eye would have. But you can see we do have a white that kind of moves up here through the face, and then you have some black that kind of spots up into the palette. We have that running back from the eye socket as well. And then there are some reddish tones up here in the crest of the Allosaurus, which you can see are very nicely applied. I have to move the tail because it's smacking things over here to the side because these figures are so huge. But you can see again the green dry brushed over the top of the head as we move back here as well. If you look here at the lower jaw, you can see we basically have that light yellowish brown with the lighter dry brushing over top as well, and again the green transitioning as we lead out there toward the tip of the lower jaw. Of course, the jaw is articulated. You can see the teeth again painted with that kind of like light yellowish tone. We've got a nice pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, and then you have like a different variation of a pink there for the tongue. And again, look at how high quality the sculpt is on the inside of the mouth, but like, look at how good that tongue looks as far as the detailing. Like, it honestly is just jumping off of the sculpt. And just like with each and every one, again, it's going to take my breath away when looking at the inside of the mouth and how good the detail and everything looks in there. And obviously you can see there's a nice gloss coat on top of everything. Now moving back, the articulation remains the same on this figure, just like we have seen on all of the other Allosaurus. So we don't need to go over the actual articulation again, as we've already done that. And if you do want to see a very good demonstration of the articulation of this Allosaurus, make sure you check out my very first review, which was the Battle at Big Rock variant of the Allosaurus, again, to really get a good look at that articulation. But as you move back, you continue to have those light greens, and then again those darker greens basically applied over top, dry brushed over top, and you can even see that there's also some alternate coloration that's been dry brushed even over those darker greens. As you move down, you continue to have like those yellowish tones moving along the underside of the neck and throat, and we still have that light kind of white tone creeping through with the blacks following along as we we lead back here into the body of the Allosaurus, basically toward the shoulder, you can see how the black sort of just disappears, but then picks back up and again stripes basically down along the rib cage, and you can see that light tone following along, very subtle addition of that light tone following along as well. You can also really see, even though my camera's not enjoying it, the very nice dry brushing that's been used on the stomach to really help highlight those scales. They just pop so nicely, and we continue to see the same style of coloration basically moving along the entire back of the Allosaurus. As you move down into the arm, you do still have the variations of greens as well as the yellowish tones moving along the back of the arm, and you can see a light green, maybe actually more of like a light yellowish tone, similar to what we see here, moving along the undersides of the fingers, and then again the variations of greens moving over the scoots on the top, and you can see the nails again painted with a very nice glossy black. As you move back, you see the green running along the front of the thigh, again the two different shades of greens, as well as the yellowish tone there on the back of the thigh, with again that dry brushing highlighting all of that detail. As you move down, you continue to see that very, very high quality paint job of the Allosaurus, again highlighting each and every scale perfectly. Jurassic Justin's paint apps are just so darn good. As you move down into the foot sculpt, again you see basically the same thing that we saw on the fingers, where we have that lighter green on the, actually a mixture of a lighter green and the yellowish tones moving along the undersides of the toes, and then the darker greens moving along the scoots on the top of the feet. And then you can see the yellowish tone even on the underside of the feet. And yes, he's even dry brushed the detail out on the yellowish tones of the undersides of the feet, showing you that Jurassic Justin does not skimp out anywhere when it comes to his paint jobs. You can also see the dew claw painted out and sculpted and everything, of course, again given that nice glossy black. And then we basically move back out into the tail, and if I can reposition the articulated joints here on the tail, as we move out, you can continue to see that we basically have the green up above and then the yellows on the underside the entire way out there through the length of the tail, looking very, very nice. And then again, the yellowish tones follow along the entire underside. But when you get nice and close, you could just see how great of a job he has done when it comes to applying his paintwork and making everything look so smooth and so clean. And then just like with the others, the 1/18th scale version has a base. The base looks just like the others, again with the nice earthy area and then the mixtures of browns and the, looks like a very dark brown wash that's been applied to highlight all of that incredible detail. But since we've already gone over the base a few times now, we definitely don't need to check it out again here with this review. Now we have already gone over the sizes and everything as far as this figure goes, comparisons and everything in the previous review, but as you can see, there is also a 1/32nd scale version of this Allosaurus. So just like with each and every other paint variant we have seen, there is another size option where you can purchase the larger 1/18th scale version with the base, or the standalone 1/32nd scale version, which we see down here, which does not have a base, but again, doesn't need it because it can stand on its own. But again, super cool having two different variants of this unbelievable Allosaurus. So yet again, Jurassic Justin knocks another one of these Allosaurus out of the park, and that is now 4 out of the 5 that we have taken a look at here on the channel, with only one remaining, which is the Lost World version of the Allosaurus, which I am definitely excited to check out with you guys, and may end up actually being my favorite overall, because it has kind of like a tiger striped raptor sort of look almost. But the Big Al variant here again is absolutely fantastic. I know there are many people that grew up watching that Big Al documentary. It was a big part of many of our childhoods, myself included, even though I wasn't really too much of a child when that had come out. But it was definitely in my younger days anyway, so it's always going to have a soft spot in my heart, and I've always been a massive fan of that color scheme of the Allosaurus. And again, even though I personally view it as gray, the greenish tones work so nicely for this as well, and the overall design and patterning and everything is pretty much exactly as I recall it on the Allosaurus, with like that black kind of leading up through the eye, up into the snout, and then moving down through the body, and then that striping on the side, and of course the red crests. It looks super, super cool on this Allosaurus, and it's also just generally really neat to see that kind of Big Al style color scheme on a Jurassic World style Allosaurus, taking two of the most iconic variations of Allosaurus that has ever existed and kind of combining them. I think the only thing that could have been added to this line of Allosaurus would have been a color scheme taking after the Allosaurus from The Land of the Lost, the Will Ferrell movie, not the actual original Amazing Show or the remake show from the 90s, but the Allosaurus in the Will Ferrell Land of the Lost. I just love that Allosaurus. I don't know what it is about it. I love the colors, the everything, the appearance. I'd love to have a model of that. Regardless, clearly I'm getting off course here. The Big Al variant of this Allosaurus is absolutely spectacular, just like the others. The sculpt, again, is just as incredible this time as it was with the last 3 reviews. Absolutely as vibrant as it gets. One of the most impressive sculpts I've ever seen. The new paint job for this Allosaurus is honestly just as gorgeous as every other one as well. Maybe even more so because it's just so vibrant with these greens that it really stands out. It really pops. So that's definitely a great thing for this version of the Allosaurus. And of course, you are loaded up with articulation on these as you always are. So if you want to pre-order one of the best Allosaurus figures you will ever see, you need to check the links that I will include in the description to head on over to the Etsy shop of Jurassic Justin right now and grab yours while you still can, because they are basically up for pre-order now, and once those pre-orders sell out, they're gone. He's not making more, and they are already as discounted as it gets for these figures, so it's the lowest price you're going to find. And of course, if you decide later on you want one, you're really not going to get one for a good price, because once everybody acquires theirs, and if anybody even wants to sell it, it's probably going to fetch a pretty penny. So if you are interested, make sure you check those links. Go grab yourself this Allosaurus, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.